Kildare, with a limp in his leg and a curl in his hair. He'd drink all your whiskey, then charm off your wife, but he'd give you the coat off his back in the fight. So raise up your glass to old Paddy Malone, who never had riches nor house of his own. He lived by the fiddle, the flask and the fife, and he danced with the devil for most of his life. He once stole a horse from a redcoat's own yard, then rode it to Cork just to play him a card. He won with a grin and he left with a slap, and a bounty of £10 was pinned to his cap. So raise up your glass to old Paddy Malone, who never saw reason or took out a loan. He'd bet on the rain and he'd wrestle a ghost, and he'd toast to the Queen with the spit in his toast. In Galway he courted a widow named Finn, but she had 3 brothers, all hairy and grim. They chased him to Limerick swinging their sticks, but Paddy slipped out with a wink and a kiss. So raise up your glass to old Paddy Malone, who stole hearts and horses wherever he'd roam. He once swam the Shannon to dodge 30 guards, then drank half the pub on the deck of old cards. Grew tired and Paddy grew slow. His hands turned to shaking, his beard turned to snow. They found him one morning asleep in the glen, with the flask in his hand and a smile like a sin. So raise up your glass to old Paddy Malone. Now the fiddles are quiet, the wild bird has flown, but down in the pubs where the brave stories live, there's always a cheer for the man who won't give.
Oh, the wind, it was bitter that morning in spring, when young Michael Conway packed up everything. With a kiss to his mother and tears in her eyes, he set off from Laharden under grey skies. They say there were dreams in the hold of the ship, of dollars and dances and fortune to grip. He wore his best boots and a rosary chain, and he swore he'd return to Mayo again. Farewell to the fields and the black mountain stone, to the songs of the hearth and the hills we go home. Though the sea may be wide and the world cold and grand, there's none like a boy with Mayo in his hand. He danced with the fiddlers on deck number 3, with lads from Kilkenny and girls from Tralee. They toasted to Boston, to work and to gold, and sang up the green hills they'd never let go. But the moon it grew still and the stars they grew sharp, as the cold bit the air like the strings of a harp. And when steel met the silence and the shouting began, young Michael helped children as best as he can. Farewell to the fields and the black mountain stone, to the songs of the hearth and the hills we go home. Though the sea took him fast from that ghost of a land, he died with a rosary tight in his hand. They waited for word, and the postman arrived, but no joy was heard. Just a note from New York with a scribbled old line. He gave up his life belt and said he was fine. So raise up a glass to the boy who set sail, with the pride of the West in his soul like a gale. He may lie with the lost neath the cruel ocean's foam, but his heart's in the herd and forever at home. Farewell to the fields and the black mountain stone, to the songs of the hearth and the hills we call home. Though the sea may be wide and the world cold and grand, there's none like a boy with Mayo in his hand. Raise up a glass to the boy who set sail, with the pride of the West in his soul like a gale. He may lie with the lost neath the cruel ocean's foam, but his heart's in the herd and forever at home.
he sang loud with a pipe full of pride, till a redcoat walked in with a smirk and a stride. So swing, lad, swing, with a bottle or boot, and shout down the crown with a rebel salute. They can tax all the drink, they can steal all the land, but they'll never take mulligans while we can stand. The soldiers said, silence, I've come for the tax. But Paddy, oh, she took a swing with an axe. It missed by a mile and hit poor Father Flynn, who cursed the whole lot and then dove in the bin. Oh, swing, lad, swing, with your back to the wall, and fight like the devil at last orders call. For a pint and a song's worth the blood that we shed, and it's better to brawl than to bow down your head. Old Mulligan shouted, don't wreck me fine floor, then got knocked in the gut by a stool from the door. The fiddler played jigs as the windows blew in, and someone set fire to the bathtub of gin. So swing, lad, swing, while the whiskey still burns. Let the smoke fill the air as the whole village turns. For the pub was our palace, our chapel, our grace. Now it's cinders and ashes and still our best place. Sent in the guards and they dragged us all down to the cells where we pissed in our boots from the crown. But each man stood proud with a bruise and a grin, and sang out the chorus again from within. Swing, lad, swing, till the last song is sung, with a bottle held high and a curse on your tongue. Though they burn down old mulligans, here's what we say: we'll build it again, twice as drunk the next day.
It started one Friday down at Mulligan's bar. The porter was flowing, the lads all ajar. Young Timmy sang loud with the pipe full of pride, till a redcoat walked in with a smirk and a stride. So swing, lad, swing with the bottle or boot, and shout down the crown with the rebels' salute. They can tax all the drink, they can steal all the land, but they'll never take Mulligan's while we can stand.
Soldier said, silence, I've come for the tax. But Paddy O'Shea took a swing with an axe. It missed by a mile and hit poor Father Flynn, who cursed the whole lot and then dove in the bin. Oh, swing, lad, swing with your back to the wall, and fight like the devil at last orders call. For a pint and a song's worth the blood that we shed, and it's better to brawl than to bow down your head. Shouted, don't wreck me fine floor, then got knocked in the gut by a stool from the door. The fiddler played jigs as the windows blew in, and someone set fire to the bathtub of gin. So swing, lad, swing while the whiskey still burns. Let the smoke fill the air as the whole village turns. For the pub was our palace, our chapel, our grace. Now it's cinders and ashes and still our best place. Sent in the guards and they dragged us all down to the cells, where we pissed in our boots from the crown. But each man stood proud with a bruise and a grin, and sang out the chorus again from within. Swing, lad, swing till the last song is sung, with a bottle held high and a curse on your tongue. Though they burn down O'Mulligan's, here's what we say: we'll build it again, twice as drunk the next day. And stories and rough working hands. He drank in the morning, he drank through the night, and he once punched a priest in the heat of a fight. Oh, sing me a song of bold Johnny McCree, who danced with the devil and laughed out at sea. He'd steal from the rich, give the poor half a swig, and he once made a fortune off a widow's fat pig. The widow O'Hara had bacon to spare, and Johnny declared it a matter unfair. If one soul's got meat and the other one starves, then I roast a wee pig on me own blessed hearth. Oh, sing me a song of bold Johnny McCree, with boots full of holes and a grand thievery. He fed half of Dublin and blamed it on rain, then got chased through the fields by a pitchforked old dame. The peelers they came with their hats all askew. One had a black eye and one lost his shoe. But Johnny he vanished like mist in the bog, while the widow sat weeping for Sunday roast hog. Oh, raise up your glass to bold Johnny McCree, with a mouthful of curses and pockets of tea. He swore on his soul he'd repay what he took, then he pawned off his trousers and blamed it on luck. flask in his hand and a piglet for warmth, and a grin that still lingered from Kerry to Forth. Oh, sing me a song of bold Johnny McCree. Now the winds tell his tale across land and sea. From Galway to Wexford they'll drink to the swine, and the lad who could charm both your lass and your wine.
Well, the black and tans came marching in, all shiny boots and sneers. To a bally band they strutted proud, full steam on pints and jeers. But they weren't long in finding out what Irish rebels do when they kicked in the pub and met old Bold McHugh. So come out, you lads, and swing your spade. The Brits are here, but we're not afraid. With a hurley in hand and a stout in me can, we'll chase every last bloody black and tan. Now McKee was a farmer with fists made of peat. He once felled a bull just for standing on his wheat. He smiled at the sergeant, said, "What's your command?" Then knocked out his teeth with a fresh leg of ham. Come out, you lads, the fight's begun. There's 20 tans and 21 guns, but with pitchforks and pans and an old chamber pot, then it's brains on the bog if we land the right shot. Bridie O'Toole, she threw open her door. With curlers and slippers she cursed and she swore. Then belted a corporal with her Sunday mass book, and the poor lad ran off with a dazed sort of look. Young Seamus McGrath with a jug of poteen lit fire to their truck and danced jigs on the green. The flames rose up high like St. Bridget's own torch, and the tans took to sprinting straight back down the porch. So swing your shovels and raise your glass to the village that booted the crown sorry ass. They came for control but they left with no pants. A round of applause for the bold Irish dance. The tale it is told in each pub from Clare to Cork of the night that McHugh used a goat as a fork when the Brits came to boast, but were chased out like rats by farmers, old nuns, and 3 lads in flat caps. So come out, you lads, give a rebel's roar. We've beaten them back and we'll do it once more, with a song and a scrap and a half-baked plan. There's no match on earth for a pissed Irishman.
I started the day with a fry and good cheer, then wandered to Duffy's for one little beer. But Mick brought out bottles all cloudy and mean, said have a small sup o' me mountain poitín. Now the next thing I know I was singing in French, with me trousers half missing, asleep on a bench. I woke with the goat wearing someone's old bra, and I shouted, "Dear Jesus, what county we're in? I'm lost in Connemara with no bleeding clue. Me house could be Galway or Paris or two." I kissed a stone wall and proposed to a tree, and I'm fairly convinced that the she'd fancy me. I asked an old donkey the way back to town. He blinked sniffed once and farted, then sat himself down. So I climbed on his back, gave a kick and a yell. He walked in a circle and straight into a well. I crawled through a bog and I wrestled a swan who I thought was St. Brendan till 1:30. Then a priest came along and said, "Son, what's the crack?" I said, "Father, I think I've turned Protestant back. I'm lost in Connemara and drenched to the bone. I'm soaked in the tears of mistakes I now own. There's a bog in me boots and a frog in me pants, and I just tried to waltz with a wheelbarrow's ant." Now the sun's coming up and I'm 23 miles from the pub where I started these bad lifestyle trials. But I've got a new friend, a donkey called Jean, and she's smarter than most folks I've met on Pudseen. We're lost in Connemara, but happy as clams, with blisters and splinters and God's reprimands. If I ever find home, I'll give drinking a rest. But first, one more toast with this sheep as me guest.
Billy the liar went out with his rod, said, "I'll catch a fish big as Noah's old God." With a flask full of tea and a head full of steam, he marched to the bay like a man in a dream. He came back that night with his boots full of sand, his face like a lobster rod snapped in his hand. He kicked in the door and cried, "Lads, gather round, I hooked the great beast of the deep ocean sound." But we all rolled our eyes and said, "Billy, go home. Last week it was mermaids, a week 4 was gnomes. You say you saw monsters and angels in flight, but can't catch a mackerel from noon until night." Says old Billy, "This tale here is true. It leapt like a bull and it roared like a shrew. With scales like a mirror and eyes full of fire, it pulled me clean trousers down to the mire." He claimed it was 40 feet long, if not more, with a trawler stuck sideways inside of its jaw. He battled for hours till his arms gave out slack, and it snapped the whole pier like a dry Weetabix. But the barmaid just laughed and said, "Billy, be still. You once said you wrestled a shark on the hill. You told us the Pope gave you 2 cans of stout, and that you once knocked Tyson Fury clean out." So we poured him a pint just to shut up the tale, and Billy sat grinning all windy and pale. He swore on the grave of his long dead Aunt Bee, "There's fish in that bay, still afraid now of me." So here's to bold Billy, the goat of the shore, whose fish tails grow longer with each nightly pour. He'll die with no fortune, no fame and no catch, but the Guinness he drains is the one thing he'll snatch.